We're going to be talking about document management. My name is Michael Ichave. I'm a Bluebeam certified instructor and a senior AEC technical specialist here at ATG USA. We'll be talking primarily about document management, little housekeeping rules. Everyone is muted. Feel free to use the chat area or the Q&A area along the way. I love questions, or feel free to just chat about what we're talking about also. Description of what we're going to be talking about today is manipulating PDF documents. Can be a hassle, but it doesn't have to be. So we're going to go through and talk about how we can manipulate PDFs with ease. It used to be many clicks that we had to utilize to manipulate PDFs. Now let's do it better and with a lot of ease. We will go through and talk about how we can manipulate PDFs. I may go and throw in a little bit of dashboard talk. That's just more pertaining to how we could utilize document management as a whole, sending and receiving documents, which we wouldn't have to do if we put it in a project. But maybe we'll talk a little bit about that if we have some time, and if it piques anybody's interest. Again, feel free to shoot in the chat or the Q&A area. Learning objectives today are to add blank or existing pages. You can add pages from another PDF, copy one over to the other. You can rotate pages. You can add stamps directly from the thumbnails panel. Primarily, we'll be using the thumbnails panel for our document management features. Again, feel free to shoot in the chat area or the Q&A area if you ever have any questions along the way. But first, let's talk about PDF manipulation. So let's go right into review, because I do not believe in death by PowerPoint. We'll hop on in again at any point, use the chat feature. And I didn't have this all the way up. There we go. I already have a PDF open, but if we didn't, you can always go to File, Open. Or if you have your toolbars, hopefully everyone that is listening in, I am in Bluebeam Revu 2020. If you are in anything below, your UI is going to look, anything below 18, your UI is going to look different than mine. That is because they did a drastic UI change from 17 to 18, and anything 18 and above looks similar to this. I'm in the different profile called Revu Advanced. So usually when you start with Revu, you see an interface that looks like this. This is out of the box, just Revu profile. If you're following along and you want to click along with me, again, I'm in Revu Advanced. My toolbar over here on the top left that I like to grab is the Open for grabbing a document, or Control O. Or again, if you have some recently accessed files over here in our panel access bar on the left-hand side, I have this thing that looks like a filer, and I can see my recently accessed files. I'm just going to open up a structural set. My primary background is structural design. So I am more familiar with structural sets most recently. Of course, I do some architectural design as well when I started out in the industry. But we're going to talk about document PDF manipulation. So I always like to usually, when I'm manipulating PDFs, and I think a great way to manipulate PDFs is through the thumbnails panel here. It is the four little square box. You can always right click if you do not see the thumbnails panel, say show, and then you can go through and see thumbnails down here. It'll be blue when it is selected and showing in your panel area. And if it is not, it is more of that not blue highlighted item. You can always use hotkeys, which is Alt plus T as well. You can also add it by pinning it to a specific toolbar if you wanted to. But again, that's completely up to you on how you want to manipulate your user interface. I'm going to access it. I think it starts off this low. I don't know. I don't recall what size it does. But down here, for those of us blind folks like myself, you have the smaller triangle and then the larger triangle. So if you need a little bit more visibility, you can drag it in and over. Also, the great thing about the panels is you can left click, hold, and drag out and have it on a second screen. So if you have more real estate or need more real estate, right, so we can see, depending on how large your document set is, maybe we have a 100-page set, we can actually have our panel on a second screen and utilize it that way. you can always right click on the actual little icon and reattach it if you wanted to directly to your panel area. You can just right click and then say, I want it to the left, I want it to the right. It's already detached. So I guess if you hit detached again, it just reorganizes that box a little bit. I guess so. That's cool. Learn something new every day. Or you can go back to the left and then left click holding, I'm just dragging it up on where I want it to be oriented. You can always dock these next to each other. I just feel like that gives me less real estate. But again, to each their own, it's completely up to you on how you utilize these panels. But going back here, I'm going to make it a little bit larger right about here. Now let's talk about PDF manipulation. Shoot in the chat along the way. What are some things you need to do when you manipulate PDFs so I can kind of bring things home here? Again, using the chat feature or the Q&A area always helps as well. But anything I'm going to go through and manipulate in terms of PDF can be found in one area. Well, actually multiple areas, but most particularly I go to the thumbnails here and I can select from things that I want to do with this particular document that I have open from my thumbnails here. I can always go to document up here at the top. Yes, you have a question. And if you want to just put it in the chat or in the Q&A area, or I can allow you to talk. Either way works for me. So you just have to unmute yourself. And you raise your hand. Alrighty, I'll wait till you're able to figure out the unmute or again, use the chat. Either one works. But you can go over here to the thumbnails area or the document area has some of those same features that we saw from over here, allowing you to manipulate your PDF set. Now, again, at any point, feel free to shoot in the Q&A or the chat feature of things that you need to do when you're manipulating PDFs yourself. One great one would be going through and checking your page setup or inserting a page. Let's actually insert a page on this one. If I wanted to insert a page, I could have another document open and copy it over, which is another great feature of Revu, or I can go to the thumbnails panel here and insert a page directly from here. Right now, let's actually insert a blank page. And this is going to be the same window that you see when you do File, New PDF, allowing you to insert a page. This is going to insert a page wherever I decide. That is going to be right here where I decide it's going to be inserted at. But I get to decide what from the blank page do I get to select. Like my templates that I've created here. What page setups from my templates do I want to add into this PDF set? I know that this one, well, if I remember it correctly, I think this is a 30 by 42. So I'll use this template here. I'm going to insert it as portrait because we're going to learn how to rotate things as well instead of landscape. And then what style am I going to create? For those of us that ever have to create any ISO drawings, you no longer need to print out paper or go and buy grid paper. You can actually have an isometric grid layout right here as well, for those of us that didn't know. I'm going to do 1/2 inch for my ISO here. And page count's going to be 1. Now, where am I going to insert this page? Maybe after or before? Okay, after and before where? Let's do the last page. It'll be after the last page, or it could be after a page I've selected, like page 4. Let's insert after page 4 here. I'm going to hit OK. So here's my ISO page again. If those of us that have to draw by hand and want to go through and draw specific things, they can go through and do that as well. I'm just going to keep that here. And it is in portrait mode. Sometimes we receive PDFs and it's frustrating. How could we fix this? Is there an easier way? Yes, we'll do that in a second. Let's insert some more pages that are in portrait mode, or maybe our smaller PDFs, like 8.5 by 11. We can easily do that. Again, going up here to thumbnails. You can also, little quick tip, right click and have these same options as well right inside your panel. So let's go through and insert some pages here. I'm going to open up a page that I have, which is some specification documents here. I could locate them. 1 second here. And no, let's just get specifications here. And we'll do concrete. And where am I going to insert? So this is a different window compared to the insert a blank page, where I can insert multiple pages if I wanted to. So if I wanted to add another one, let's just add sheets here, maybe a door schedule. Great. So I have a door schedule here in this concrete specification document. I can reorder the way these are going to insert in here. So maybe I want the door schedule to come first, then the concrete specifications document. Now, what do you want to do? Options. Do I want to include anything that are already existing in these two files, like their bookmarks or file attachments? Do I want to use the file name as the page label for these as they're being inserted? Do I want to merge document properties or merge layers? Now, how am I going to insert these two into my set, right? I know the door schedule is going to come first, then my concrete's going to come next. Great, but where are they going to be inserted from? I'm going to do last page and after last page. I'm going to say okay. So as I can see here, from 8, I have my door schedule here. Then onward, I have my specifications document going down. Again, that would be inserting pages from another document. Now, can I copy pages? You can do that as well. I'm actually going to open up another document set here. And maybe I wanted to grab something from this set that I have open and copy over to my other set. Now I could split screen so I can see both of these, but whatever one I'm selected in is going to be the thumbnails particular to that one. So let me go to Teen Challenge here. I want to copy maybe this structural notes, because those are more profound for what I need in my Samtech drawing set. I just have to right click. I could do a range too, for those of us that didn't know. I could select one and hold Shift, which is just the standard Windows selecting and then selecting from this area to this area. Or you can click particular just by hitting Control. Maybe you want 1, 2, 3, 4 of these to be copied. Let's just do that. I'm going to right click and say copy. Now, when I switch over to the Samtech drawing set, I'm going to automatically start seeing this blue indicator here. Trying to see, is it going to be better over here? Yeah. So right here, you see this blue little line. That's where I'm going to paste things. It's just a little friendly indicator showing me on how I can paste some of these items. So I can easily go through and decide where I'm going to paste these. Maybe it's going to be on the left-hand side over here of the ISO drawing. I'm just going to right click, and I'm going to say paste. Now it's pasted those over here as well. I can then go through and maybe reorganize these if I wanted to, which is a little easy. You can just select these ones. Maybe with these 3 are the ones I want to reorganize or move somewhere. I can left click, hold, and start dragging them, and I get that same blue indicator to where I want to move these. Maybe I want to move them at the beginning of my document set here. I can left click and just place, and it has now moved those to the front of my set in this Samtech document set. Great. So another question. Hey, can I rotate these pages easily? Sometimes we get document page sets that have incorrect landscape and portrait, and I don't want to have to go through my 100-page set and look at the documents and see which ones aren't rotated correctly and then rotate those specific ones. You can do that very easily just going up to thumbnails here, saying rotate pages, and you are able to rotate pages by portrait pages here, or landscape. Maybe they came in landscape and they're all supposed to be portrait, or maybe I need to rotate specific pages like all of my even pages. I'm going to do portrait. You get to decide which rotation they get to rotate, counterclockwise or clockwise. 180 degrees as well, you have that option too. So I'm just going to rotate them clockwise 180, and all of my pages have been rotated. And once I hit OK, do their correct rotation, except for these 8.5 by 11s, because those again were those document sets. I can select these to be rotated by their own if I wanted to have these specific ones to not be rotated. I could go through and do that and counterclockwise. All right, do we have any questions so far? Q&A area is completely anonymous. Chat feature is shows your name. So wherever you want to ask a question, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we will keep plugging along here. You can also extract pages. Maybe you have a large document page set. Yeah, Mario. So I split the screen right down here. I have my navigation bar, which is showing me the split screen items. So, oops. Let me exit out of here. So down here in the bottom left, you have split. You can also use the hotkey of control. I think it was 2. Was it control 2? Yeah, control 2. It'll split your screen. You can split your screen up to 16 times. I don't know why you would want to do that, but hey, you have that option because as you can see here, they start to get a little smaller. And you can sync documents. As you can see, these were syncing as I was scrolling in and out. That is also featured down here if you have that option open. And if you do not see it, you can go to Tools, Toolbars. I have my navigation bar, but my status bar also has a default syncing item here, which syncs my document set. That's F8 if you don't see that. If you don't see your navigation bar, that is F4 for the hotkey, so it populates my navigation bar down here as well. To give me that split screen feature quickly, or you can always go up to View, and from View, you have split screen as well. Now, when you start the unsplit, it goes from the most recent split that you had, by the way. And another question may be, hey, Mike, can I drag this to a second screen? You totally can. So I can left click and hold on the tab for the specific one, just like good old Google Chrome, which Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge now follows the same tab standard. But yeah, again, you can go through and move these around. If it's not already here, then you can reattach it. But if it's already existing on the attachment for your actual UI, it won't reattach it. Yeah, that's how you split screen. I guess you could also right click and split screen too on the tab. Again, in Review, there's multiple ways to utilize different tools. Okay, so back to thumbnails here. What else can we do? We can apply a stamp. This was actually a cool feature that I learned about the other day, which it's always, I think it's always been here. I don't know. But if you click it, it's going to allow you to apply a stamp in some location. So where are you going to anchor this stamp that you have, and what pages are you going to place it on? So you can be particular on what pages you want the stamp to be applied to, and maybe multiple document sets. Now, a stamp is seen as a .pdf file. As you can see, I have a large number of stamps, but I have one just with a date here. Where is it going to anchor itself, right? So I can see that it's going to anchor itself maybe at the bottom right of all of my pages here. We'll see how it works with the other smaller pages. Maybe it just defaults to a specific location. But you get to decide the blend mode, normal, maybe the opacity. Do you want to lock it, rotation, scale, the positioning of this specific stamp within it of itself. I'm just going to hit OK. And down at the bottom right here, I will see my stamp. Now, my question was, what does it look like? Yep, same thing. So I'm guessing it's knowing the page size, and that's how that, what was it, 6 location? Let me see. Yes, 12, right? No, 9, sorry, if I could count, 333. But this is where it's going to place that specific stamp that you have. So quick way to place a stamp on specific pages that you want as well. You can also delete pages if you wanted to. So if you needed to go through and delete specific pages, you also have that ability to go through and delete pages if you wanted to. We were talking about extracting, got off on a little bit of a tangent. I think that was because we were talking about the split screen. But I can go through and extract pages. Maybe I want to take specific pages out, or I want to break all of the pages out to their own documents by themselves, because maybe they're large files individually too, and I want to use the feature of creating sets, right? Maybe that's something that's happening. So we can do that over here. I can decide what pages am I going to extract. I could pre-select them too. or I could say current page or custom range. If you wanted to go through and say something of this and that, I'm just going to do all pages. What do I want to do with all pages? Delete pages after extracting. That's up to you. Do you want to extract pages as separate files? Yes, I do. Use page labels to name files. My page labels are just numbers, so not really. Do I want to overwrite existing files if they're already saved somewhere? And do I want to open files after extracting? Probably not. Do I want to update hyperlinks to relative paths? So maybe you had a combined set because you printed it out from Revit, and those section cuts were hyperlinked themselves already and linking to the page sets they were at, and you still wanted them to work that way. You would want to update hyperlinks to relative paths as well, so they open those pages. And then you would hit OK and it'd run through and do that. Now, what happens if you have them all separate? What if you want to visually see these together in a document set, but they're not actually together saved natively, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. That's a little bit of a sidetrack from document management, I guess, per se, because we're doing manipulation. But let's talk about how we could create a set for documents that are actually not together. So all of these PDFs here are separate, as we can see in Windows Explorer, right? I'm going to create a .bex file, which is proprietary to Revu. That's going to keep these all together in one document set in Revu, not in Windows or wherever they're saved natively. So I can easily do that by going here to the Sets panel, or right-click if you do not see Sets, and you can do Alt+2 to create that set. You can say New Set here. Maybe I'll do New Set. Yeah, we'll just do New Set. Now your options for how sets are going to be sorted and combined in the categories are going to be set here. So you can go through and say, show the name, sort by specific file name and page label, maybe sort in the order of alphanumerical, ascending, revision filters here, and categories. What are your categories going to be set up if they decide to auto sheet number and pick that data out, and any tags if you wanted to add any tags. So those are your options. I already have it preset up for the specific documents that I'm working with. I'm going to use relative paths, which is always recommended for any type of linking method you have. So I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to go grab those documents that we saw. Oh, it's not completed sets, but exercise right here. I want all of these to be in a set. So I just hit Shift, which is a native Windows thing, right? So these are all of my documents here. They're named specifically how I wanted them to be named and numbered. And then these are the tags that are going to be given. So it gives you a little preview of your tags that are going to be entered in. Now, what this does is those are all separate, if we remember from the Windows. But in my set here, it shows them as if they were all together. So if I open up one page here, I have one down here in my navigation bar through 21, even though they're saved natively by themselves. So I can start going through my page set if I wanted to locate these documents as I'm going through. Again, this is great if you have large PDF files. Export them or extract them out as individual files, create a .bex file, which is a set. So then they're organized in a more visual manner, allowing to manage my documents with ease. Now, again, this is creating sets in Revu. If you have any more questions about that or need some training on those, we can go over that more. Reach out to your rep or reach out to me and I'll get you in contact with someone to help you through that. But back over to document management. Let me go and open another one here. Go into my thumbnails. Let me check my notes to see where I'm at. Anyone have any questions so far? All right. Another feature is combining documents. So how could I combine documents together? You can do that by going up to File, Combined here. Again, you can pin this to a toolbar if you wanted to. Is it already in this one? Oh, look, it's already here. But back to here, Combined. What documents do I want to add to combine together? You could do the ones that are open. I don't have any open. I want to add some documents to combine together, maybe this one and this one here, and hit open. So it's going to combine these two together. Now, how are these going to be ordered when they are stapled together like a stapler? That is decided by you. You move them up or down. Team Challenge is going to come last, sorry. Samtech is going to go first, or vice versa. Team Challenge first, then Samtech here. Or an open set, and I don't have an open set open. So if you had an open set of documents here that you did want to combine together to send out for coordination because they don't have review and they can't use the .bex file that you send them, again, that could work also. Now, how do you want to combine them together? There's some additional options like you want to include bookmarks, all that, yada, yada, yada. You can modify the selected pages that are going to be combined too, if you didn't want all of the pages to be combined together too. And then you'll hit OK, and it's going to combine that set as its own document one. Probably going to want to save it as, that's just old habits, right? But now that document set is all combined together into one fresh set. And you can go through and look at them. Any questions so far? All righty. Next one would be maybe for document management, we want to go through and search for text and visual search for items because something needs to be replaced or fixed. So I'm going to open up a specifications document, which we saw earlier, and it's not open here. Let me go to Sheets. Let me go to here. Bam. Question rolled in. What are the advantages of a set instead of combining into a single document? Yeah, so like I was speaking earlier, instead of having a larger document set, maybe the file size is larger, right? And it's taking a while to render my document set when I'm scrolling in and out, and changing pages load time is a little bit longer than I would want. Why would I want to that would lead into me wanting to export them out individually so they're not rendering full page sets through my thumbnails here as I'm changing pages. I would extract them out separately, and maybe you haven't encountered this, but at some point when you do, because maybe you're not able to control the sets that you're receiving and they're just encoded incorrectly, Bluebeam Revu does follow the ISO standard, which is the International Standard Organization for Coding PDFs, but other PDF providers code viewports differently, like JPEGs and GIFs, which create larger file sizes. And we all know Revu does a lot with the PDFs when they're trying to interpret vector data. So maybe they're larger file size and it's taking a little bit to render as we're switching pages. I would export them out as individual sheets and then create a set for me to visually go through representation wise, to navigate those individual sets. Or maybe they're not a full combined set and you're just trying to navigate through all of the coordinating party set without them being combined as of yet. That could also be an option. But back to here, I need to maybe change something in this specifications document. You can use the search feature over here. We can go through and search for some content here. Let's go through and search for, I don't want to do the one I always do, but I'm going to. Sorry for those of us that have seen this before. But concrete, I'm going to search for everything that says concrete, but what are you going to search for? I'm going to use whole words. I'm not going to be case sensitive. These are some of your options. You also had an option of, is it going to go through all of my open documents, or maybe you had a folder that you were searching for. You have that availability. I'm going to select all of these. Again, you could go through and look for ones that you wanted to be more particular about, but again, that's up to you. I'm going to use this replace checked, but you also have this other option, which some people forget about. It's a little thunderbolt, but hey, I could apply a count to anything that I search for, or a hyperlink, or underline some of the information, or squiggly. I'm going to use the replace feature, and anything that says concrete is going to be replaced with Michael. I think I have my cap locks on. I'm going to hit OK. So everything has been replaced, and no one has that employee that has deleted a Word document, right? But if you have, you're wondering, oh, all we have is a portable document format. We don't have the .word document here. Well, what are we going to do? From here now, I changed everything, but I want to create a Word document from this now. So I can go to File, Export, and go to Word document. Am I going to export maybe a page region or the entire document? I'm going to do the entire document. I'm going to save it to my desktop here. And it's going to open it up in its native use application. And it's going to say Michael for those things that I changed, which was concrete. So as we can see, everything has been changed to Michael. And all the formatting has been the same. I know I get a couple of questions of, hey, well, what if it was a Drive, Google Drive, Word doc? Is it gonna save the same formatting if they open up in Microsoft Word? Two different applications. So that's between those two applications, nothing that Revu's doing. It's whatever the native application user was that's going to cause the issue. So if you were to save out a Word document from Drive and open it up in Microsoft Word and the formatting wasn't working, that's exactly how it's going to look if you create a PDF, export it out as a Microsoft Word. Alrighty. You can also visually search for items, which is another great feature. But again, anything that's automated, use with hesitation, and you should always check anyways. But you can go through here and visually search. So you say you get a rectangle of some information you want to search for, like for instance, the sink. Great. Do you want to refine colors? Nope, that's fine. Again, current document, even a whole folder. If you wanted to look for this specific one, you could go through and do that too. You play with the sensitivity on what you think is going to be more viable. How sensitive is it going to be searching for this visual data on my set that I'm selecting from? Is it going to search for fine detail, markups that maybe look similar to this too? Is it going to limit by selection? But I'm going to hit search here. And we're going to let it run. And this is another time to maybe ask some questions while we're letting it run real quick and search through my document. No questions so far. We had the 2, which was great. Thanks for your participation and asking questions. You can see it's counting down there. But then I can go through and click again, check my document to make sure that these are all ones that I needed. And we can go back to here and guess what? We can apply a count to them. So now I can get an itemized count. Maybe these are going to be my, I don't know. I don't have a, we'll just do water closet count. And need to check all these and place it. Maybe I should make these scalable. You should check out one of our blogs that we did scalable markups, how to do that and how to apply multiple scales to your markup. So this scaled directly to the page, which doesn't have a set scale to it. You're probably like, Mike, you don't even have a set scale to it. You could set scale to page as well. But I can go through and check to make sure those are all the ones that should have been placed. In my document set, again, anything that's automated, you should always double check. But down here, that holds all my data. Water closet, I have the count of 11 of those specific ones. Again, they could have been sync markups that gave you that data. Then you can export them out too. You can also, from the thumbnails, you can export out the markup summary down here. You don't have to go to your markups. You can export it here. And tune in next week to our morning coffee review. We're going to be talking about templates. So then they wouldn't even need to go down here if you have other users using it and don't want them to mess with how things are being exported out. You could have a template that you would load in and save your configuration. So then they didn't have to worry about changing any of this data. It will already be set up by you, the admin, and having those templates set up beforehand. That way people can go through, search for content, add the markup, then go and hit export. They don't have to do anything extra to sort the data that's supposed to be exported out to like a markup summary or a CSV file. Again, tune in Tuesday at 8:30 CST, May 11th for that. And that's more of an open, not so structured. You can ask any questions. We go off on tangents all the time from there as well. Alrighty, let's see if I am on track or not. So I searched, great. Now that we've managed our documents, is there an easy way to maybe email these documents? You can also do that from here. I have my toolbar menu that has this as well. Or you can go to File and Email. There's also email templates. So if you wanted to go through and set up a predetermined email template, or you can just hit email. And what's cool about this is it's going to bring up your default email use, which mine is Outlook, and already attach the documents to it, so I don't have to go and hit File, Attach. It's going to be here. Again, you can set this up in a template, so it's a different naming convention if you wanted to. And then you just get to decide who you're going to send it to. It's quick, easy. Going back to maybe exporting documents, I'm going to close this out, close this out. We did the export out to Word. I'm going to do the export now out to Excel. And I've actually done this with an image, which is pretty cool. So if you didn't know, you can go through and export out, or sorry, create a JPEG or an image into a PDF. You just open up your default image viewer, and then you create or print to PDF. You open it up in Review. Then from there, you can actually export the data out to Excel. Which is pretty cool. So you could easily just use a snippet icon and then go through and save that snippet as a JPEG or PNG, and then open that PNG or JPEG and print to PDF. And then from there, you can export that out to Excel. So then it's in an Excel. If you want to see that, feel free to shoot in the chat and maybe we'll do that right now. But for now, we're taking this PDF part. We want to export something out to Excel. So I can easily just say export out to Excel. I don't want the entire document because this is a lot of data and Excel kind of freaks out in terms of the cell structure when it has two separate cells, individual areas here. But I'm just going to export out just a little area. So I'm going to say Excel, page region. I just want this data here to be exported out to Excel. I'm grabbing that part. Where are you going to save it to? I'm going to save it to my desktop here. And it's going to open up again its default application. These are small because of this being a small, I'm zoomed in there, but in terms of that, but all of the data is still here. So I have all that information here and I can go through and modify it if I needed to as well. So again, exporting that data out to Excel if you need to. I learned and did a fun way of doing it where you're going through and actually getting a PNG or a JPEG from something and then creating the PDF and then exporting it out to Excel, which was pretty cool as well. But all right, we went through a lot. We did some PDF manipulation where we talked about the thumbnails panel, talked about common functions, including inserting, copying pages, deleting and rotating, and maybe moving them. We extracted some pages. We talked about combining. We went over the search feature, talked a little bit about emailing and exporting PDFs. Does anyone have any other questions pertaining to the topic? We do have time now to ask any sidetracked, non-topic related questions before we move on and kind of close out for the rest of your day. All righty, well, thanks everyone for joining my webinar today. Again, my name is Michael E. Chave. I'm a senior AEC technical specialist here at ATG. Feel free to join our morning coffee review. Actually, let me get that link here if you want to join that. Let me go through here. This presentation mode. And let me go through and get that link for you all if you want to join that. Every Tuesday, 8:30. Let's see here. Bear with me. It's also on my LinkedIn if you want to go to my LinkedIn here. But let me bring it up for you. Save you some clicks because that's what we did today, right? Okay, so and it is in the chat. So that is the link to register. Feel free again to join us. It's free. You can ask any questions pertaining to Bluebeam as a whole, not just review. And feel free to check out any of our, if I could do the right display, any of our social media stuff as well, or any other information. Thank you all for joining me today. I know your time is valuable, and I hope you have a good rest of your week and weekend. And thank you all for joining us.